What's up, guys? This is Kyler, and we are back with the Grace Kid podcast. And today I have a special guest with me, and she's going to introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Riley, and I am 9 years old. I am in 3rd grade.
And today we got quite the podcast. We've been talking about what we're going to talk about. And just like always, we're going to start with the question of the day. And so, Riley, what is our question?
Our question is, if you could live in a movie, which movie would you pick?
Okay, so if you could live inside a movie, which movie would you want to live inside? We're going to give you a little bit of time, and we'll be right back.
Tell me like you do. I never want to fill my bowl with anything else but you. And God, I'll take this moment to give you everything. Cause Jesus, nothing compares to living life with you. Life with you.
All right, we are back, and we both have some good movies in mind, and so we're very curious what you guys think too. But I thought it would be really cool to be in the movie The Incredibles, only if, though, I was a superhero.
Yeah, that one's a good movie. I kind of forgot about that one.
I think so too.
But I do think Inside Out would be a good movie to be in because all of the emotions.
Yeah.
And kind of like the story we're going to be talking about today.
Oh, yeah. Wait, first, what is your favorite emotion in Inside Out?
I think the most funniest would definitely be anger.
Anger?
But the one that I like to feel the most is joy.
Ooh, joy, yeah. Anger's pretty silly, but joy is really, it's probably my favorite character.
Or disgust.
Oh, yeah, the green one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but you were right. Actually, we are today talking about someone who probably went through a lot of emotion. And so, drum roll, please. It is Joseph. Yeah, it's Joseph. And so, if you are following on with our reading plan, it's in Genesis 37 through 45. Yep, that's right. And so, just to start off with Joseph, he was a part of a big family. Okay, he had 10 brothers, and at the very beginning, he worked in like the pasture, which means he probably took care of animals and stuff. Mm-hmm. And he was his dad's his favorite son, and even so much so, he gave him a jacket. But he started to have these dreams. And so, Riley, tell us about the dreams.
Well, he had a dream that his 10 brothers and eventually another one on the way bowed down to him. And he tells them about them, and the brothers get angry and jealous. And so they take off Joseph's coat. Mm-hmm. They show the father, and they say he has been killed by a wild animal. Mm-hmm. But that's not true. That's right. They really put him in a pit. And if there wasn't anyone walking by, which there was, they sold him to a man called Potiphar.
Yeah, so he ends up going to Potiphar's house. He gets sold to this random person. And then, and you were right, if they wouldn't have sold him, he would have been left probably in the pit, maybe forever. But they sell him off. And he ends up in a guy named Potiphar's house. Now, Potiphar, he was a very wealthy man. But Joseph, the cool thing about Joseph is he was a hard worker. And so he was working really hard in Potiphar's house. And he started to kind of like move up the ranks, I guess, in his house. At some point, though, he ends up being in charge of Potiphar's entire house. He was like the big guy. His wife accuses him of something he did not do. But Potiphar, he didn't know what to do because he trusted Joseph, but he had his wife. And so he ended up sending Joseph to prison. Riley, what happened next?
Well, when he got to prison, after a little bit of time, the guard liked him so much that he put him in charge of all of the prisoners.
Wow.
And then God gave him the gift of interpreting dreams.
Yeah, so he could like explain what dreams meant.
Yes. And so once this guy was out of jail, the Pharaoh of Egypt had a dream. And they were like, hey, we know Joseph and he can interpret dreams. So why he can interpret your dream. So they get Joseph and they tell the king of Egypt,
Yeah,
the Pharaoh
tells Joseph the dream.
Yes.
And Joseph
then he
tells
them that it means that there was 7 years of good harvest, good crops. But then after those 7 years are done, there'd be 7 years that there's bad harvest and the crops won't be good. So
Joseph has a plan.
Joseph suggested that they save up as much crops and as much plants and much food as they can, and then they use that food to help feed everyone when those 7 years come.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and even how could you even be like in the story? Joseph tells them like when he gets freed, the man from prison, he's like, "Hey, remember me," and then he totally forgets him until Pharaoh, like he literally was like the king of Egypt.
Yeah.
When he has this dream and no one understands it, but then he's like, oh, there's a guy named Joseph. He's in prison still. He interpreted my dream and it was true. And so, yeah, and then he explains exactly what it means. And even so much that Pharaoh is like, you know what? That is a great idea. You know what? You're in charge of it. And so for the next almost 14 years, he's helping collect all the crops for this famine that's supposed to come. And a famine means like bad harvest. Like maybe there's going to be a drought, bad winds, maybe the soil's bad, something like that. And so he starts preparing. And so after the 7 good years, there's 7 bad years. And people from all over start coming to get food.
Including Joseph's now 11 brothers.
Yes, and so they come because it affected them too. They didn't have anything to eat, so they start to come. And when they show up, they're probably in a big line or something.
Yeah.
They get all the way to the front, and there's Joseph. And Joseph recognizes them.
But they don't recognize him.
Right. And so he is like completely in shock, like disbelief. He could not believe it at all that his brothers were here. And I even think about maybe the emotion he was going through, kind of like what you were saying with Inside Out. He probably had a lot of emotions going on. Like, maybe he was just speechless. He didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And so he kind of tests the brothers to see if they've changed their ways. And so he sends them off. They end up following through. So they come back. And Joseph then is like weeping. He sends them away. But he ends up telling them that he is their brother. And they are in shock. They're in disbelief. They couldn't believe it at all.
Yeah.
But Joseph does something that would be maybe really hard for us to do, especially after all that he's been through.
Yes.
What does he do, Riley?
Well, he just, like you said, he's in shock and...
Yeah, he ends up forgiving the brothers for what they've done.
Which would be pretty hard.
Yeah, sure, it would be really, really hard. But then what ends up happening is Joseph ends up bringing like his family in. He starts to bless his family and really doesn't just forgive them and say, oh, yeah, you're forgiven, whatever. But he ends up changing his way as well. They are like reunited together. And so this whole story makes me think, really cool story, and it's true, it's in the Bible, but how does it apply to us today? So, Riley, what do you think? How does it apply to us?
Well, I think sometimes when we're having just a bad day and some bad things happen, God can change it into a good day to make good things happen. Just like when Joseph's 10 brothers they put him in a pit and they sold him to slavery and he got put to prison. He eventually became
second in command.
Second in line.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, Joseph even told his brothers, he said, what you intended for something bad to happen, but God used it for good. And think about the entire country of Egypt had food because of this entire roller coaster that he went through. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, it makes me think about 2 things. One, Joseph had this dream, like what you were saying, way, way back at the very beginning of his life, and it came true. And it makes me think, maybe you listener, and us even here, maybe God's telling us something that he wants us, that he's going to do. He's telling us it, and he's going to do it. And it could happen today, tomorrow, or later in our life. It makes me also think that Joseph, when he was in prison, he had the gift to interpret dreams. God gives us different skills and gifts, and God wants us to use them. And so, which makes me think, oh yeah, go ahead.
For our challenge.
Yeah, our challenge time.
Me and him thought about a challenge, and my challenge was ask God if there was something that you need to forgive and forgive them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great one. Just like Joseph, he probably was like, do I forgive them? Do I not? Like, what do I do? And he forgave them. And my challenge too is just like maybe a gift or skill that you have, use it. Like maybe you know someone that needs something or something that you are good at. Why don't you use your skills to help them? Maybe it's just being a friend to someone who doesn't have one, or maybe it's making something. Maybe you're really good at making things. Make something and give it to them. Maybe it'll brighten their day. And so do our challenge, get in the word, read the story, and that's probably it for today. So we are going to say bye.
I never wanna fill my bowl with anything else but you. And God, I'll take this moment to give you everything. 'Cause Jesus, nothing compares to living life with you. Life with you.
If you would like more resources regarding the One Story Plan, go to visitgracechurch.com/onestory. And if you'd like more resources for your kids, you can go to visitgracechurch.com/kids. We also have a YouTube channel, and you can find it by searching Visit Grace Kids on YouTube. If you like this podcast, we would love for you to like, subscribe, share, and leave us a comment. We'll see you soon.